Hey, buddy, can you hear us?
Hey.
I can.
Dude.
Good morning, everyone.
Oh, good morning.
Oh, thanks for the plug. We need it.
Well, truly, because of the music that is in this production, it really casts a wide net over the audience that you have coming in. It's people of different generations, different genders who enjoy this music for one reason or another. And then they learn a little bit more about the story and the history.
For sure. And obviously, it was great to have you guys there. Definitely infusing some fun into the audience. We do have a wide range of people that get to see the show every night. It's an important story to tell, honestly.
I had no idea.
The birth of rock and roll, segregation, just a crazy time in our country's history. This guy was a real disruptor. He was sort of punk rock, before there really even was rock and roll. He promoted desegregated shows, elevating great artists like Little Richard. I mean, who, let's remember, was basically the first queer artist out there, doing his thing out in the open, flamboyant and just wonderfully talented, and really was the architect of rock and roll, and really never shy about who he was or what he was all about. I mean, he definitely had lots of phases of his life over the decades that he lived thereafter, Tutti Frutti and all. But we're having a lot of fun. This off-Broadway run has been wonderful, and we're actually already kind of setting up for the next phase. So I'm glad you guys got to catch it while we're still off Broadway.
Amazing.
There's so much really cool history and a lot of little winks and nods to people that have heard rumors about specific people who are prominent within the 20th century. And I won't spoil it, but specifically the former head of the FBI. Wonderful scene with him towards the end that addresses some past J. Edgar Hoover rumors that got a huge laugh. But it's unbelievably fun, and again, loved that Little Richard was your lawyer. I feel like that could be a spin-off LA Law type show.
And just from the characters he's mentioning, this show really is, it's an ensemble cast, and everyone really has their moments to shine because everyone is playing, or most people are playing actual people.
Yes.
So I wonder, in the rehearsal process, how much research did you all do? Were you all watching videos together? And then when it comes to imitation versus interpretation, how close are you trying to get with accuracy?
Great questions. Thank you. And
don't give her that.
Certainly, we want to be true to the story, but there is a fantasy element to the production. Alan Freed died by 43 years old. He was dealing with severe alcoholism for the latter portion of his life and basically drank himself to death. So our show takes place on essentially his deathbed and kind of takes you back in this fantasy dream sequence, where he's sort of on trial for his legacy. The great characters, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, whatnot, and thank you for mentioning our ensemble, who not only some actors played both Buddy Holly, then Jerry Lee Lewis, so people are playing multiple parts. We did try to kind of collectively do our research and talk about the tone of the show. I think it's always weird when people try to do an exact imitation of someone. Mm-hmm. I think because of the fantasy elements of this, we can kind of interpret it our own way. I definitely picked up the voice of Alan Freed from a lot of the audio, the look with the 50s attire and the hair and whatnot. I think the others as well. But I think it's so important to infuse your own life experiences and your own sort of point of view into things. Like, I don't know if you saw that Marilyn movie this last year, Blondie, I believe it was called.
And you know what? I couldn't get all the way through it. It was so disturbing. I mean, it wasn't
really
boring, but I didn't even get to the infamous JFK part where apparently JFK shows as DICK. But I didn't even get that far. It's really disturbing, but good.
Well, I dug it so much because it's clear we have a Hispanic gal playing Marilyn Monroe, but it didn't bother me at all. I was totally invested in it. So I think in terms of that, we encourage everyone to bring their own interpretation. In fact, if you really dig, there is some support out there that Alan Freed was African American in his family.
Oh my God, I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
There is some deep stuff in there. So we actually have a girl who's been out of the show who often goes on as my daughter, and it sort of just works. So, I think for us, we left it open for the actors to kind of to bring their own heat into the show for sure.
Well, and by the way, talk about adding a little bit to history. Who knew Alan had such an amazing voice? Why wasn't he promoting himself?
Jeez.
He was singing better than anyone.
Something that we wrestled with a lot. At first people were saying Constantine doesn't sing enough.
Well, I was worried because I did a little bit of Googling about him before we came to see it. I'm like, why are they giving him the role where we're not hearing his pipes?
Well,
but luckily he's...
to that point, I would almost argue that the role you're playing is actually way more difficult than some of these song-forward roles you've played before, because you're on stage for a lot and you're not singing. You're listening or you're observing, which sometimes is the hardest thing to do. And correct me if I'm wrong, but like if you're tired, maybe you forget that you're supposed to be paying attention. This happened to me.
I was going to
say,
like, this
all right, focus, pay attention, be in it, even though you're not doing anything. It can be tough, and like to make choices that make it interesting, but don't take away from the performers. It's difficult to do.
Yeah, Joanne, and obviously from your experience, and that's a great observation. I think for me that was a big challenge, just being comfortable and grounded in listening and just sort of playing the scenes conversationally a lot of the times. The show has evolved a lot over the weeks, and then when I get to sort of sing and break out, it is sort of in these dreamy sequences, and generally with the original material that is infused into the show, as well as the catalog songs. Obviously, you hear all the great 50s music that, I was first introduced to probably when I was 10 or 12 years old when Stand By Me came out, the movie.
Oh, sure.
Maybe Bill remembers that a little bit more, too. When
absolutely. Yes.
That was our movie. And even when that radio voice came on, he's like, "Hey, this is the Big Bopper in Portland," and like that was, I was just leaning forward. I was like,
right.
Whoa, there's something about the 50s music, but the original tunes allow me as Alan sort of the ability to kind of live in that bubble with the artist. But yeah, you have to catch yourself. But I got to tell you, I'm so connected with this. I love it so much. I'm interested in everything that's happening on stage, so it's not hard for me to just listen.
Yeah,
man, you are good at finding, and now I'm like repeating myself, but you are really good at finding projects that are great for hetero dudes. Like, I remember looking at the demo at Rock of Ages, which to this day is one of the best parties I've ever been to that also just happened to be a Broadway show, and you'd kindly gotten me and Ian a ticket, and I just remember looking at the Zimas and the chorus and be like, we can have this while the show is happening, and get drunk, and it was just an absolute
I'm pretty
party.
sure that was the first Broadway show that really allowed alcohol.
I think so, and now they've all done it.
Now everyone realizes, oh, this is an opportunity to make more money.
Oh my
Let's
God.
do it.
Ian was like in heaven, and he's also not like much of a Broadway guy. Jekyll and Hyde, you could argue, has got a dude element to it that they enjoyed.
Sure.
I thought so, but this one certainly. And I mean, you're getting a demo that rarely goes to Broadway, or if they do, they're being dragged by their wives, aunts, or gay sons. And,
yes, all of that. Well, I think part of the plan, with Rock of Ages originally, our producers they made movies. They made movies. They never really made theater. So I think at the core of Rock of Ages, yes, all the 80s songs, all the sexy girls and stonewashed jeans, mullets, drinks.
Best.
There was this sort of like throwback 1930s kind of musical, like, we're going to lose our club.
Yes.
And we have to put on a show and save the day.
Mm-hmm.
And the missed connections.
Yeah,
so like at the core of it, it's like kind of this Americana musical, and it's heartful. And again, my character was not the rock star. He had to be grounded and in the middle of sort of all of this cartoonery, right? And so I have been lucky and able to create cool roles like that. I think with Jekyll, yeah, that's just essentially a sci-fi piece. I mean, you know, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is like the ultimate first superhero sort of,
Totally.
you know, there would be no Batman or any of these characters without, you know, the original novella. So I've been lucky in that respect, but I'm always hoping to challenge myself with different, you know, things as well. I want to always try to, I know there's some moments in this I get to rock out, but I like to think that it is a little bit of a different vibe for me as well. And people get to see me, I don't know, play a little bit more of a homely character on stage and all that.
Yeah,
so,
sweater vests and all.
Well, you
Sweater
know,
vests.
Joanne always makes fun of me for my weird obsession with real and fake male
Oh my
celebrity
God,
hair.
the hair.
And I always counter, well, Constantine is obsessed with it too. We would always bond over who we thought had plugs or whatnot. So I have to ask, how long does it take to get your mane of hair into the 1950s Alan Freed tiny, almost crew cut wig every night?
Well, it's so funny because just after you guys saw the show, we added this incredible hair designer who generally works in film and television. And I got to say, we have amazing designers and creatives on the show, but some of our actual running crew people, whether it's backstage or you know, dressing room, whatnot, some of them are a little bit less experienced, but they're great and they have a big future, but they're young. We brought in this veteran gal who's usually on TV, but obviously there's a strike. She's done up my wig the last few shows better than it's ever looked. So I have to shout out Amelia. She has done, and she brought back this sort of like, you know, a little bit of the fro, but like, you know, the 50s thing. So it's got a little more height these last few days. But to answer your question, yeah, they pin curl all my hair up, right? Pin it all up, and I look like Princess Leia. Yeah,
There we
that's
go.
a good picture of it though. That was like for photo day, so of course it's looking
Yeah.
good. And,
Yeah, there's
with,
some
like,
Brillo cream in that wig. I like that. Yeah.
that's what they use, yeah. And they sort of like they put curlers in it, and they do a whole thing. Of course, he was half Jewish, so he had a little bit of more like the ethnic hair that he was probably trying to keep straight, but it just wasn't going straight on him. And so yeah, they pin curl it up. They sock it down, they pin it all up, they pin the microphone in, then the hair goes on, pin, and the glue around the sides. Honestly, 15, 20 minutes tops, and that's usually just because we're bullshitting half of the time, you know? But
I love
not
that
long
shit.
at all.
I
It's
love
mine's
all
very
of that.
wet.
I love all of that stuff, that behind the scenes. You're sick of it because you see it all the time. But like, you guys should totally do like a time, particularly for the actors that play different characters and have to go and do a quick change in the back. You guys should totally video and do a time lapse thing for the.
They're
home
busy
site.
doing a quick change. They don't have time.
Well, but one show, all they got to do is do their thing. There's just a camera in the background, you know. But
I'm like
I love all that
pony.
stuff.
I'm like a one-trick pony when it comes to social. So like that stuff, that's a little out of my realm. That's like more TikTok, and but I should try it, especially before we finish up this run September 1st.
Oh, wow.
And then we're setting up for the next phase, which is like tour, West End, and hopefully Broadway next year. So
I think it's a gimme.
We have, there's a lot of fun stuff coming up, but the hair is good. And yes, you and I, it's my curse, dude. It's my curse. It's my cross to bear. As soon as a dude walks in with like the hair or the plugs, and my eye goes right to it, and I'm like, I can identify the fakeness real fast.
I usually have a much better poker face than you, but you're absolutely right. If it's someone, and I've had recently, we can talk off camera, a couple of people that I know that are in the business that have had some procedures, perhaps in South America, and I have since hung out with them, and immediately they'll always have the hat on because in the new surgery, it's very obvious, and there's red and all of this. But every once in a while, it'll like adjust, and we're aware that they have done this, and it's all you can look at. You know, it doesn't matter what's going on in the entire room. All I am looking at is this new, fresh, semi-bleeding hairline. And apparently, because of, and we did story about this. This will lead you into Brotox, but we had a story about this. Now that the strikes are happening with both SAG and the Writers Guild, a lot of A-listers are using this as an opportunity to get really invasive plastic surgery that they normally would never have had time for, as far as recovery and all that in the past.
Well, that is actually a really great question leading back to you, Constantine, in your career. You know, you are now getting to a point where it's really an opportunity, I think, getting older, because then there's more roles you can play or roles you haven't been considered for before. So
Absolutely.
I know for me, I'm hesitant about the Botox and fillers and things because I kind of want to look older. Like, I want to get older because there are some brilliant roles in plays for women who are older. Do you feel the same? Have you felt the pressure to stay looking young, or are you embracing it?
Oh, I've never felt the pressure of trying to look young. I've been pretty lucky. I mean, I'm 47 and, I got all my hair. I don't dye it. I definitely have shown a little bit of age in my face, since like probably my American Idol audition or something. But for me, definitely talking to my reps, like they're more excited now. Like definitely like pre-pandemic, I was going in for everything, film and television, testing, and then it just kind of like that hit, and then you had to ramp it back up again, and then all of this striking and such. So yeah. I am excited for the next like decade chapter regarding, film and TV and such, and plays as well. I can't be like the young rocker forever. I definitely, I'm excited about that. I don't.
Jagger says otherwise.
I don't have any interest in plastic surgery. I think it looks so obvious. On particularly on men. But I don't know. I like when a girl, looks natural and ages a little bit. I think it's beautiful. Really, so for me, it's I'm a little against all that, but do whatever you feel you need to do to feel beautiful and confident. And that's cool with me. For me, I think nutrition, I definitely allowed myself to get a little fat after the pandemic. So like now I'm coming back down. I'm down like 10, 11 pounds. And, I want to get back to like kind of skinny guy again and just still be my age. But I think nutrition and taking care of yourself. I don't drink. I don't smoke. It's been, 4 years since I've had a drink. And for me, I think that is the best sort of solution to all of that. But hey, dudes, whoever, if you feel like you need to do a little Botox.
By the way, this is all easy for you to say. I'm like 2 months older than you, and yet you look 15 years younger than me. I am more and more looking like a human saddle, and I don't have the genes.
It's called Sunblock, Bill. Sunblock.
I just like the rays.
The rays are good. I do love I think a little sun is good, but definitely I've learned to sort of stay out of that.
Yeah, you see the hats he wears. Protects his skin.
I like the hats.
My hats don't work.
I had a funny thing. Wait, because I had wet hair, I was like, do I wear a hat? Do I not? Do I let it dry naturally today? So I was gonna, rock like this brand new.
Ooh.
Oh, I like that.
This is like Johnny Depp kind of wannabe. Yeah. This guy made it for me, Reverend, which is cool. Or I was gonna go like old school, like Bapu, like a dad. Like my grandfather would have worn something like this.
That's very Alan.
That's more Alan. Someone gave me this, like, this says Connie. A lot of people call me Connie.
That's fucking great.
That didn't happen. I was in Guam once, and I got this hat from Guam. So I thought
that's badass. Did
it says Guam.
Did you get the Connie one when you were in Rock of Ages? Because that looks like one of the hats you wore when you go into your boy band stage. Towards the end.
I love that you remember that. Well, oddly enough, a kid in our show now, Dominique, is very talented. He plays Jerry Lee, and a lot of people are like, is he really playing piano?
I asked her the same thing. Yeah.
He's playing the shit out of the piano.
That blows my mind.
Yes.
I mean, because there's like probably a couple people on earth that could play the piano like Jerry Lee Lewis did, and you've got one. Like, I could not believe that he was actually playing that.
Yeah, he plays the heck out of piano. It's The trickery of it is it's an actual like sort of electric kind of keyboard piano, just keyboard, and the rest is like what they call a coffin. Just so we can, because it's so hard to tune a small piano like that every show, And then I also had this for Bill in case he wanted to just go to a Yankee game anytime soon.
I
And
will,
then
but not wearing that, and you know it, sir. All right.
I thought maybe also, fugly is kind of funny too. So,
Wait,
all right. No, so
how
so
many
he
hats
bought
do you
me that.
have?
Well, I tell you, hey, we've got a lot of similar interests. Not the Yankees, but hats. Yes, we have a lot of similar hat interests.
The Yankees are plummeting, and it's destroying my life as we speak. But oh my God,
You don't know what pain is," said every White Sox fan ever.
So Dominique, great guy, great artist as well. Dominique Smith, check him out. Dom Smith. He played Drew after me on like the tour, like for many years.
Oh, wow.
He had like the long wig and stuff, the Constantine wig. So he kind of has always like looked up to me, wrote me this beautiful note opening night, and he had that hat made for me in the Street Boys sort of style.
That's fucking great.
Yeah, so that was cool. Although
Sweet.
my head is gigantic, and literally, look, see, can you see that it's on the last? Wait,
Yeah.
it's on the last.
That is.
That's
By the
how I
way,
have
you
to
might
wear
even
it.
have a bigger head than me, and mine is
Dude.
Charlie Brown-esque in size. But yeah,
It's a
I think I'm like
pumpkin.
on the second to last, so you might have me beat.
Well, that must be for a child or something. It couldn't be for an adult. I don't know.
I got a big cranium and a tiny brain. I always like dork out in all the research and stuff like that. Some of them are surprised. The fact that he might be of mixed ethnicities is fascinating. Were there other things along the way that you found out about him that blew your mind, were not aware of, that you guys were either were able to or not able to incorporate into the show? Because again,
man.
I didn't know a whole lot about him.
As Joanne can attest, these shows, they go through so many phases and so many changes and so many cuts. And, in developing it for the last 2 years, frankly, before the first preview, we cut 12 pages out of Act 1.
Oh, my God.
So, and in that, we had all of this about his racist mother, about how they hid the fact that his father was Jewish, growing up in conservative, Ohio, in the suburbs of Cleveland. He was a hustler. He was a hustler. I mean, he got married to his first wife very young. They had a baby. And, he was a bit of a cad, and he was running around. But he was, doing high school sports. He was doing, basketball announcing for the Salem High School Quakers. He did classical music. He was working at all these radio stations. He did news and weather. He just hustled his ass off, So he wasn't someone that just like walked into the record rendezvous one day and was like, boom, rock and roll, black people, awesome. So I really related to that because I like to think of myself as like a real hustler. Obviously, American Idol was a great platform, but remember, I didn't audition until I was like 28, 29 years old on that show. So
That's amazing.
I had, put myself through school and toured and rent and played in bands and worked jobs, along the way. And I just really related to the fact that he was this hustler. And ultimately, yes, he ran around a little bit, but he was loved and admired by his family and the women in his life. And in the end, they were all there for him. And somehow, mostly, I have like maintained relationships with all the important sort of like lovers that I've had in my life.
Yeah.
Too. Like to
That's
this day,
that
I
is
still
impressive.
Well,
I don't know
Another thing that
how,
I can't
but like
compare
they're
you
still
to.
like in my life.
yeah, that brings up a good point, though. Like, you have a pretty emotional sort of ending in this show. And are you the kind of actor who pulls from personal life? Alan Freed's daughter, your daughter. Do you get that personal with the parallels, or do you try to kind of keep that at arm's length?
Malena, yes, she's a
Malena.
12-year-old, 18-year-old, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So so I'm screwed, basically. All of it's coming.
It's called karma.
It's coming.
Pain for all
Connie
past
karma.
sins.
Great question, Joanne. Definitely like in rehearsals, when you're there, like just like 10 hours a day, day after day, like I found myself I was just overcome with emotion on a regular basis. And it was so hard to get through it. So you have to learn to sort of like go there, touch it, but you can't touch it all the way because you still have to get through a show. You still have to get through 8 shows a week, but definitely the substitution and the sort of sense memory of like personal experience is all there. but you have to like, you can't go through the crucifixion every night in
Yeah.
Jesus Christ Superstar, you know, like you can't, otherwise you couldn't physically do it mentally, vocally.
Real quickly, you're with a Hollywood legend going all the way back to his Guido the Killer Pimp days. Way on into The Sopranos. What is it like working with Joey Pants? I'm sure he's got a million anecdotes. He seems like he plays two roles, too. Another guy that does.
I mean, he really is an icon. I mean, there's no other way to say it. To take a quote out of Alan Freed, you know, he's like, there's no other way to say it, you know. He has been in my life, my entire life, from my earliest recollection of film and television, from Goonies to Eddie and the Cruisers to The Idol Maker, obviously Risky Business, probably my first R-rated movie.
Mine too.
And then all the way up to, you know, The Fugitive, The Matrix, obviously The Sopranos and Bad Boys, and just truly hundreds of works. And the consummate professional, lovely, and so bright. And he's had some family history. Unbelievable. You know, his father was a gangster. You know, like, I mean, he grew up in, you know, tough Hoboken, you know, neighborhood in the 50s and 60s, and you know, across the street from the Sinatras. Like, I mean, he was really involved. Wow. The mother, you know, he had so much trauma, and he's open about it, about his sobriety as well, and his mental health over the years, and we connect with a lot of that. I mean, he's like my brother, my uncle. He actually reminds me of an uncle that we had and was gone far too soon when we were kids, my Uncle Chris. I mean, he really reminds me of him. It's crazy. So I often look at him and I'm like, Uncle Chris? Like, it's fucked. I'm sorry to use, you know, but so he's added so much to this. Obviously, he's not normally a song and dance man, but, you know, what he's brought to both Leo Mintz, who was Alan Freed's original partner and promoter and essentially founder of rock and roll, and in popularizing it for the radio audiences of America, and then Morris Levy, the gangster, who he's just, you know, right at home playing. So it's been great. Obviously, I've learned a lot, but I think I maybe have shown him a trick or two when it comes to musical theater too. So
yeah.
He's got a sprain in his step in this one. He age defying. In any draft,
he's a beast.
Yeah, in any draft, was there discussion of trying to incorporate Chuck Berry's toilet cams into the?
Yeah, there was. I mean, not just
I was so happy I was able to tell Jo that afterwards. She was not aware of Chuck's hobbies.
Well, you know, yeah, it's like leaning into a little of that stuff, you know, with him getting busted. He was with a 17-year-old, and then Jerry Lee being like, no problem, I'll just go on. And us being like, yeah. He's like, no, she's my cousin.
That was great.
So there's some of that stuff. Definitely want to clean up some things for the next level. And I think that's what's so fun about this level and this phase of the show. You know, you have to freeze it, as Joanne knows. You have to freeze the show. Like, you can't keep changing it along the way. So we froze it, knowing that there are things that we want to implement. I think, you know, Alan needs a sort of like Unchained Melody sort of Act 2 kind of big number, or like, do you know that Lieber and Stoller song, I Who Have Nothing? You know, like some big power rock ballad that like really ties it together for him. Something in that kind of world. You know, we used to touch upon his earlier life stuff. It's just hard, man. We're doing a 2-hour musical. So
yeah.
This is like almost as much research as you probably had to do with Robert Moses. I'm just thinking books upon books upon books of all this stuff. Well, listen, buddy, as always, huge pleasure. Anything else you want to plug, promote?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually getting right back out on the road when we finish up September 1st. September 3rd, I'm in Aspen, Colorado at Oktoberfest at
awesome.
Beaver Creek, this gorgeous resort. And I do my solo show there. I have shows throughout the fall. I'm in performing arts centers all throughout the fall. So you can just go to ConstantineMaroulis.com. All my socials are there, Constantine Maroulis on Instagram, and you know, a lot of shows coming up for sure. Yeah, Twitter. You guys are big Twitter. You guys have like, I have no engagement on X.
That's the thing.
But
Everyone I'm talking to now, they're done with it. Even before the X part, like Elon's just taking a big old dump on the thing. But it's only I'm just lazy. I don't. It's only what social media I know.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm easy to find, and I have a new song out, Daydream.
That's
and
right.
my next song, Comeback, is coming out on the 25th of August, and then the third song in the trilogy will be out in September, October, and so they're all like these one-word titled songs, and they're all leading into my next record, which should be out early 24.
Good for you.
So yeah,
That's
all the
great.
songs are there, all the socials are there. And hope to see you at my solo concerts this fall. Thank you
Hopefully
both.
we'll see
Love
you soon.
Good to
Thanks,
see
buddy.
you.